This conversation we're having today is going to be important if you're a public official trying to figure out how to build skills in your community. It's important if you're an employer and you're trying to match the right skills with the right people. And it's important if you're looking for work or you're a student and you're trying to figure out the next steps in your journey towards skills and employment and hopefully the tech sector or the cloud sector. So I'm joined today by Brendan Walsh, who's a Senior Vice President of Partner Relations at 1901 Group, and Tejas Vashi, Global Leader of AWS Restart. So let's start with the basics. Brendan, I'll start with you. What's 1901 Group?
Oh, well, thank you for the invitation today. This will be fun. At 1901 Group, we always enjoy talking about creating technology jobs in rural America because it's such an essential part of the 1901 Group story. A little over 10 years ago, our CEO, Sonu Singh, started changing the way IT and especially enterprise IT services would be delivered through the use of automation and by building what we call IT factories in rural locations. And that's really an important point for the audience. By building our IT factories in rural locations, we created a competitive advantage. And that advantage was that we could attract, we could retain, and we could grow world-class IT talent more efficiently than our competitors. And what I mean by grow is our process, our approach is to, for every individual, for every employee coming in, we have a career path. Training, education, progress. So it's not a job, we believe it's a career. So when you look at 1901 Group, you look at a combination of location, the rural location, of world-class talent, and this use of automation. Those three things are the combination, or is the combination, that make up our IT managed services that we offer to U.S. public sector clients. And I like to say that we provide full lifecycle IT offerings, meaning we will design, we will implement, we will operate, whether it's cloud, AWS GovCloud, or hybrid cloud, or legacy. And I think we really focus on three areas of IT. One is IT infrastructure. The second is IT application or application management. And the third, really the table stakes, is cybersecurity.
Great. Tejas, tell us about AWS Restart. What does your organization do?
Absolutely, Laura. So AWS Restart is a CSR, a corporate social responsibility program. It offers a full-time skills development aspect, and it really prepares individuals for entry-level, in-demand entry-level cloud jobs. What it's really focused on is looking at unemployed, underemployed, and career transitioning populations, such as those leaving active duty from the military or spouses of veterans. And it actually connects them to employers looking for entry-level talent. What we're really doing through the AWS Restart program is creating a win-win-win scenario. The first win for the individuals who otherwise would never have been able to get into IT and cloud space without a program such as this. The second win is for the communities in which we serve. We're taking individuals that are currently unemployed and needing of assistance from the regional governments to actually contributing back as actively employed citizens of that space, of that community. And then the third win is with our customers and partners who are absolutely in desperate need of entry-level talent that they can groom and cultivate and grow within their organizations, as you heard from Brandon. Unfortunately, the supply is nowhere close to the demand. And so we're creating a win where we're actually providing our customers and partners with this access or this pipeline of entry-level talent.
That's great. So I know that 1901 Group and AWS Restart are working together in certain areas. Brendan, can I ask you to elaborate on where there's a convergence between 1901 and AWS Restart?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were excited to hear about AWS Restart a few months ago as we were working through other programs with our AWS team. The intersection really in our regional perspective is the AWS Restart team is working with another organization, a partner program in Southwestern Virginia, and they are starting a class in October, a Restart program curriculum. As an employer in the region, we are always looking for new sources of IT talent. And to Tejas's point, whether it is a junior, entry level, mid, or senior, we're excited to interview, to speak with the learners, the candidates, and then the graduates through this Southwestern Virginia Restart class. So right now we are a sponsoring employer, and we are also looking at future to potentially even host some of the classes when we go back to in-person, more normal operations.
Right. So just to be clear, Brendan, 1901 Group is operating in a number of different sites in the United States, but we have this convergence here in Virginia. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. And similarly, Tejas, Restart is all over the United States, potentially all over the world, aren't you?
Absolutely. We're in multiple countries and we're expanding in both Asia-Pac, EMEA, as well as North America, with new cohorts popping up in Canada and also the Northeast of the US. But you're right, Laura, the intersection and the pilot that we're trying for rural areas with 1901 Group is right here in Southern Virginia or Southwest Virginia.
So let's talk about rural challenges for a minute. In my introduction, I alluded to the fact that rural communities have had lots of challenges and economic troubles and unemployment issues over the past couple of years. And then COVID-19 has made that even worse. Brendan, I know that there's a lot of challenges facing our rural communities, but can you drill down on sort of the top 2 or 3 challenges that would affect rural workers who are, considering or would like to have employment in the tech sector?
Absolutely, it's really a timely question. I think the first that is the largest infrastructure or technical concern, limiting factor is the access to broadband or internet, high-speed internet. There's a statistic I saw last week, I think it was from the US Department of Agriculture, that 80% of the families that cannot or do not have broadband access are rural families. So when you look at that internet connectivity issue, it is a real issue, but it's an issue I do believe we can solve. It is something that both federal and state and local governments are working on. There are programs with USDA and the Federal Communications Commission to help improve and modernize rural. So that broadband is definitely a concern and a factor. And especially with COVID, it just emphasizes the need to modernize for rural families. But there are also a few, if I can, there are a few perceptions or misconceptions. And I'd say the first one that I wanted to bring up is that rural people are too far behind to catch up to those in urban locations, and that there's a lack of technical aptitude in the rural community. And maybe we dive deeper into that later in the conversation. But those are important, whether they're real perceptions or misconceptions, they're important to address.
Thanks, Brendan. So Tejas, Brendan just opened up a couple of different things, and I want to ask you to comment on. First are real impediments, things like broadband access. that folks in rural communities might be struggling with. And then there's maybe mythologies that, oh, if you want to work in the tech sector, you have to live in a city. So do you want to address any of those, either the challenges or the myths that you think need busting?
Yeah, absolutely, Laura. I think the first thing we have to understand is, in today's world, in today's environment, the internet has become the great equalizer, right? So, and as you can see from the COVID-19 situation that we're all in right now, highly skilled individuals can actually be very productive regardless of where they live or where they're working from. So it, in my opinion, highly disproves that myth that everybody needs to be in a certain location or has to always be face-to-face to be productive. The other thing that we need to overcome as a industry is also the employer attitudes and our traditional hiring practices. These have been a major challenge for folks in not just in rural America, but across the world, right? For those folks that are trying to get into the cloud computing arena. So for example, a lot of hiring managers are still looking for individuals with college degrees and years of experience. Well, with the speed of technology moving as quick as it is today, having a college degree such as mine, from multiple decades ago, actually adds very little value, right, in today's world with today's technology and the skills that are required of me today, right? So individuals need to continuously learn. Employers are looking for ways to continuously equip their employees with an ability to learn and be curious on an ongoing basis. So that takes away the other myth of, rural people or folks in certain areas are disadvantaged in any way, right? With the internet, if you have access to training, you've got access to hands-on skills and skills building abilities, then you're going to continue to be productive regardless of where you are, as long as you're keeping yourself up to speed on the latest technologies. So it becomes more about a technology play and the individual wanting to continue to learn and be curious versus where they grew up or what circumstances they came from.
Yeah, I want to bring Brendan back into this conversation as well. These mythologies about folks living in urban communities, that they don't have an aptitude for technology, or they're too far behind, or that if you're of a certain age, you can just never develop these kinds of skills. Brendan, I know you're a blogger, you're a writer, and you've done a fair bit of myth busting. What can you tell us about these myths? And I know you've shared some examples of folks that you've worked with who have gone from welder to help desk center, et cetera. So help us take some of the air out of these myth balloons.
Well, you actually just took all the thunder. It's one of my favorite topics and discussion points about not having aptitude in rural America. When you look at what was needed to run a farm, to operate equipment, heavy equipment, there's just technical aptitude is a capability, it's a mindset, and being inquisitive on how things work. Why do things work? There's no lack of technical aptitude in rural America. We've two great examples at 1901 Group, and one was a welder who joined us, started on the help desk, and over a number of years worked his way up into a managerial position. It's a great case study. And the second's a little bit more recent, of a college grad who was working retail. She saw our Cloud Pathways program advertisement. It's a training program we started. She reached out to us. She joined us. After 8 to 10 weeks of this training program, she joined our team full-time. She is now working as a code tester, and she went from retail to cloud engineer, a cloud architect within about, let's say, 3 to 4 months. So junior, but with the certifications, with the AWS certifications, in that inquisitive nature, that desire to learn. She's just another great case study.
Great. And we've talked about the internet being the great equalizer, and that there have been some technology changes that are actually going to are helping bridge the gap and create opportunities in rural communities. So you don't have to live where you study or live where you work. I wonder, Tejas, do you want to comment on some of these technological changes that you're using with AWS Restart that are helping you get the cohort of students and learners who have a possibility for success?
Yeah, absolutely. So within the program itself, the way we've structured it is there's three critical components. One is the soft skills component. Keeping in mind that many of these individuals have never held a professional role in their careers, or at least not in the IT and cloud space, it's very critical that we teach them some of the basics of communication skills, time management, the ability to communicate, the ability to present and get thoughts across, right? We also do a lot of hand-holding as many of these folks are getting into the careers for the first time with career building, interviewing tips, and those kind of things. In addition to that, there's the IT fundamentals, right? It's very critical for anybody in the technical space today to understand applications, understand Python scripting, understand networking and securing the network, right? And so we cover all the basic foundational aspects as well. And then we spend a good bit of time talking about cloud foundations and talking about the sysops and how that works within a live organization. Over 40% of the curriculum is based on labs and hands-on experience. So it's very critical, regardless of where you are, to be able to get that hands-on experience. So at the end of this 12-week program, the individuals that come out are not just textbook knowledgeable, but they also have skills and have validated skills. As a part of the program is they do have the opportunity to take the AWS Cloud Practitioner Certification exam. Obviously, we can't guarantee that they'll pass, but we do make every effort to get them skilled up to that level. And we give them the exam vouchers, and we also give them coaching and mentoring through our collaborating organizations to get them prepared. But all of this right now in the COVID world, Laura, is being delivered in a synchronous virtual delivery fashion. So it's still 8 hours a day, still 40 hours a week, and it is still a 12-week program, but it is offloaded between a live instructor setting with mentored learning where they go off and do knowledge checks and hands-on labs, and then they get back together later in the day to recap so nobody falls behind and nobody's left behind. And I think if we can do that in education, I'm sure we could do that in the workforce.
Great. That is very, very cool. Yes, Brendan, please.
If I could emphasize a point that's for the audience's sake, the ability to combine both the academic or the curriculum training with the hands-on to an employer, that is so critical that there's hands-on experience in any curriculum for any training. And that's another reason when we heard about Restart, AWS Restart, we were really excited because it's like minds. The combination of that textbook or online with that hands-on, it's just, it makes a huge difference. So I applaud you.
I'd love it when we can talk about solutions. This is the best part of the program for me. You both mentioned things that you're particularly proud of, initiatives that are ongoing. I wonder if there's any specific things you just want to leave us with. Any things at AWS Restart or 1901 Group that you're particularly proud of? And I'll start with you, Brendan.
How much time do we have?
Forever.
We can go on for this. The takeaway I would say for the audience, whether public policy, public official, employer, or individual, I think we can all do a better job as a society of aligning our governmental policies, whether they're telework policies, whether they're acquisition policies to incentivize rural work. I think there are programs, I know there are programs, and aligning our government policies better with employers, with the employer community. That combination plus awareness and education to individuals who have technical aptitude, who may want to reskill, change career paths. I think that's the three-part formula to creating more high-tech, high-quality jobs in rural America and to closing that talent deficit that we have both in the United States and globally. So those are my thoughts.
Great. And anything else specific to AWS Restart, Tejas, that you're doing that you'd like us to highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so two parts to it. First of all, from a AWS perspective, right? I think it's important to understand the roles that all corporate citizens should play in this space, right? So first of all, I mentioned if you're talking about the skills gap, and you're an employer, or whether you're in the commercial space or in public sector, right? You have the duty to actually build a workforce that is scalable and can actually be flexible and adapt to the new technologies and the speed of technologies. And the way to do that is to look at this from a holistic approach, right? It's not just about skilling or reskilling or upskilling. It's a combination of all of those. You need to be looking at hiring new talent from both traditional mechanisms such as universities, as well as non-traditional talent pools, such as those that are currently unemployed, or those that came from disadvantaged backgrounds, or those that came from, as today's topic, from rural backgrounds or different types of backgrounds. That will help create a diverse workforce as you evolve your workforce. What we also have to do is look at how we continue to upskill and reskill the employees that you currently have. So it's a combination of bringing new talent in and also continue to grow the talent within your workforce. And so what AWS offers is several things. We have two large programs on the CSR side. One is the AWS Academy program, which is really focused on providing university students the ability to get hands-on learning, both in the fields of cloud computing, as well as advanced topics such as machine learning and architecting, computing, developing new apps, et cetera. And then there's the AWS Restart program, which takes non-traditional folks and creates a I&D workforce, right? An inclusive and diverse workforce by taking individuals from very different areas, different backgrounds, and brings them into the workforce. And then for those that are already in your talent pool, right? Those that are already employed by you, AWS offers a wide variety of in-classroom training, which are all being delivered obviously right now due to the pandemic in a virtual setting, as well as over 500 online courses free to your employees to benefit from and to continuously learn from. So again, it's that holistic mindset that employers need to have. And I think that's very critical if we are going to all work together to build this and address this skills gap.
Great. So 1901 Group, AWS Restart, I think both of these organizations are really in the lead of building skills in rural communities and communities that have been overlooked, or for folks who haven't had these sorts of opportunities before. But you're not in it alone. There are government officials, there are educators, there are employers. You've given some good advice throughout this program, but I want to give you, one more opportunity to deliver a bit of a call to action. Pick one or pick all three: governments, employers, educators. What should we be doing next in order to bridge this gap? Tejas, start with you, and then I'll ask Brendan.
Absolutely. So all of our audience here today, as well as we ourselves, right, come join us. We have to work together to raise the awareness of programs such as this. And then we also have to encourage ourselves, our own teams, as well as other employers in the industry to join us in taking taking on that challenge, right? Give these individuals from different backgrounds, diverse working environments, give them a chance to come into this space and grow with us. I think that's very important to change that employer mindset and the traditional hiring behaviors, because we just will not be able to scale to address the continuously growing and expanding skills gap.
Great. Brendan, last word is yours. What do we need for a call to action?
Thank you. I'll focus on the public officials and the employers. And I would say to look and to learn more about programs that are public-private, such as vaready.org, that are working to reskill, and in VA Ready, obviously Virginia citizens, more national programs having to do with veteran hiring and skilling. Again, Virginia is Virginia Values Veterans, or V3. And last plug for AWS Restart at a global, national, and of course regional perspective. So if employers will get more involved and public officials will align policies with those incentives for employers, I do think there's a bright future.
Great, thank you. So now everybody is motivated. Now everybody is ready to spring into action. So here's your call to action. In the description box below this video, you'll find links to everything that we've mentioned.